Welcome, everybody. It is Friday. TGIF. Every time I say what day it is, I always have to check to make sure. It's part of being an entrepreneur, right? It's like you are the one who's in charge of knowing what day it is. Um, okay, so it's Friday, 22nd April. I'm sitting in for Charlene for the Morning Mindset Cafe. She is on a retreat at a nice mansion, doing work with a mastermind, and really helping to grow her skills and her business. So we decided to keep this show going because it's such an anchor in a lot of people's lives and ours as well. So to keep this momentum rolling, I agreed to be a co-host. So today we're talking about a positive mental attitude. So let me actually throw up the link for the book if you don't have it. You can follow along here. Heads up, drop-ins won't work in recordings or audio archives. Okay, actually that I just wanted to see it. Um, there we go. So you can just click on that and it will take you right to the book. This chapter actually starts on page 277. Or you can click that link in the chat box and go to a Google form where you just give your email and you get access to the book to download as well as a couple other forms. Um, I think there's one on developing a definite chief aim, and Charlene has been producing some things for you there. So I would recommend signing up for that. Okay, what are we talking about today? Positive mental attitude. How to generate a positive mental attitude and keep it. And we talked about yesterday how to raise your energy, how to keep your energy high. And this is a similar topic. This is actually about using a positive mental attitude to keep yourself healthy, right? Keep yourself strong. One of the things we said yesterday, it's no good being the richest man in the graveyard, right? Or the most skilled surgeon or the best businessman, the best leader, the best manager if you're dead. I mean, I don't know if they need managers on the other side, right? I haven't been there, and I plan on just staying here for a little bit longer. So you may be useful over there. However, we want you here, and you're here for a reason. So let's not check out. Let's stay here and do the best we can, right? Yes, I'm glad you stand on plane here, Matt. Yeah, it's actually a pretty fun place if you have a positive mental attitude, right? It can be bad. It can be really bad if you have a negative mental attitude. It's all a matter of your attitude. You know, attitude is the only thing that we can control. Circumstances happen to everybody. As they say, it rains on the just and the unjust. You can be as good as you want to be. You're going to have good days and bad days. However, you can choose how your day will be. So let me get my other blab open here. That way I can see if someone calls in. So if you don't know yet, one of the blab secrets here is you can have another blab open, and I'm a co-host on that blab. And so I can see when you call in, and I can still have my documents open on this one. And I really want to see because I would be so great. So what's the word I'm looking for? Excited. I would be happy. I would be very welcoming to anybody who wants to come in and talk about this. Have you ever used your positive mental attitude to stay healthy or seen someone else do it? But before we get into that, I wanted to go over very quickly the thoughts to stare by that I didn't cover yesterday. I was so engrossed in the topic of how to keep your energy level high that I went through the whole hour just talking about it without getting to this part, right? And usually I use this part as like, okay, if nobody comes in, I'll talk about this when I get there, when I run out of things to talk about. But anyway, the point is, I think it really connects with this chapter because the two concepts are very closely related. So we were talking about yesterday how to keep your energy level high, the thoughts to steer by that they have. First, he starts actually with a series of questions. These questions help to steer your thinking. How is your energy level at the moment? Like when I started, I was like, okay, I'm mentally awoke, but evidently I'm not physically awoke yet, right? And as I talk and as I share with you guys, I can feel my physical energy increasing. Also, I just ate a banana, and that happens, right? With bananas, they're pretty cool. What is your most important source of physical, mental, and spiritual energy? That's a good thought to think, right? Physical, like good food, mental is a good conversation for me, and also very good books. Spiritual energy, meditation, and prayer. So I'm just giving you my answers. How can you apply the principles that Dr. Thomas Curtin taught to Rogers Bannister so that you'll have extra energy to achieve your goals? And those principles were to break the goal down into smaller tasks, to train yourself mentally as well as physically, mentally how to overcome obstacles. And okay, the next one here. Do you push to the limit of your endurance, then rest and try again? A lot of people push to the edge of their endurance and just give up. They're like, oh, I'm so defeated. I can't do it anymore. It's just so hard, right? But that's the reason that you need to rest. When you start to have those thoughts, you know you need to rest, and you just need to stop thinking about whatever you're doing. Because it goes back to what he was saying. You know your energy level is low when you get discouraged, depressed, and not focused, and just not in a good way, basically, right? Good morning, Mr. I am to Mr. Riddle. I don't know. That sounds interesting. Sound like an interesting person. How can you avoid net or neutralize fatigue? Rest, play, unplug from whatever you're so stressing about. Find something to laugh at when you're feeling low. That's a really good one. Yes, YouTube is a good source. Type in comedy, right? Uh, and just laugh. I wouldn't suggest hooking yourself to a car battery because we are not necessarily those type of batteries. It's a metaphor, right? You take it literally, you will discover that you aren't actually a machine, regardless of how people try to convince you that you are. You're not, and we get our energy is a little bit more refined, right? It's a little bit more spiritual nature. It's very interesting if you think about like the banana I just ate. It actually has sunlight in it. That's what's giving me the energy. It was photosynthesized and turned into glucose, which will then again be uh, go through some chemical reaction inside of me and turned into I can't think of the chemical name right now, into these little units of energy that my brain and my muscles can use, right? And we're going to talk about that. It's called a catalytic reaction. Yes, kids are awesome. I love kids. I was talking about kids yesterday. They're just so full of life and so full of energy and positivity, and just take some time to play with them. Yeah, it's a little bit of a shift of state, right? You you kind of have to let go of all your worries and stresses and rules and stuff because they don't have those rules, right? They just make up rules as they go along and then just go have fun with it, right? So kids are really, really, really great sources of positive, uplifting, freeing energy. Um, Catherine says, I like messing with mine. It makes me laugh. Oh, you have teenagers. Yes. So it sounds to me like you're a fun mom and that you probably play jokes on them sometimes. Because I know teenagers can be serious sometimes too. But how do you feel about energy transmitting interdimensionally? Actually, Catherine, I gotta find a way to share this. This is so funny. I was looking at a series of those screenshots of text. It was evidently like a young girl. She was probably like 23 or something, and her mother, and the text between them. Because the mother didn't really know how the phone works and about text and all that. And and she was just consistently playing jokes on the mother, right? Um, and finally, the mother got the daughter back. She was like, "Okay, I'm going to bring you some coffee," and the daughter was like, "Okay." And then she texts her mother back, "I thought you were going to bring the coffee." She says, "I did. You didn't answer the phone and you didn't answer the door." And she was like, "Well, where is it?" "It's in front of the door." Right? That's what the mother said. So the daughter goes and looks, and the coffee is. She's like, "It's right in front of the door. I can't even open the door." She's like, "I know. Have fun cleaning that up." So anyway, she finally got her back because you had to look at it. The daughter was just terrible. She was just really, really playing a lot of practical jokes from my mother. So it's nice to see that fun reaction between the two. All right, so what else do we have? We have a choice on how we use our energy, right? We're the only animal that can actually choose our mental state according to the way that we think. And we use the same amount of energy in failure as we do in success. And if you really, really break it down, this is the good thing about memory is to see, okay, when did I start thinking in the wrong way that caused me to, react in maybe negative way or not in the most proactive and positive way that caused me to not get the results that I want. So I like to call it results rather than failure. It's really feedback. And that way you can figure out how to create the success. Every success is built of quote unquote failures, right? It's only it, it's only a failure when it becomes permanent. So I like to see it as a result and say, okay, how can I actually um, find a way to make this work? Anybody feel free to jump in. I talked about this for like an hour yesterday about how to keep your energy high, and we had some good comments as well. All right, so let's move it to how you can actually live a healthier and longer life with positive mental attitude. So he starts it out with a quote that I'm pretty sure everyone heard, and evidently I never actually heard it this way, but it's originally every day in every way through the grace of God I am getting better and better. I've always heard in every day in every way I'm getting better and better. I guess they took out the grace of God part. Some people are afraid of that word, right? So anyway, it's not a just a woo woo thing to say. It actually creates results in your physical being, right? When you know you're getting better every day, right? It gives you a direction. We talked about that yesterday. Which way are you thinking? Are you going in a positive mental way or are you going in a negative way, right? Are you moving towards your something you don't want or are you moving towards something you do want? So PMA, positive mental attitude, will help you develop mental and physical strength and live a longer life. And negative mental attitude will just as surely undermine mental and physical health and shorten your life. It all depends upon which side of the talesman you turn up. Positive mental attitude, properly employed, has saved the lives of many persons because someone close to them had a strong positive mental attitude. So they bring in here a story about a baby, right? And so the baby was born. I don't know if it was premature or it was sick or something. And the doctor said the baby's going to die. And the father said, no, no, the baby's not going to die. So the baby's going to live, right? And this is so interesting how the father just is like, no. Yeah, you went to school. Yeah, you're supposed to be the authority and the doctor and all that. But I do not accept that diagnosis. The child will live. So the father had a positive mental attitude. He had faith. He believed in the miracle of prayer, and he also prayed, and he also believed in action. So I love that, right? He had faith followed by action. And he got into action. He placed the child under care of a pediatrician who also had a positive mental attitude, a doctor who knew from experience that every physical weakness that nature provides can be uh, overcome, so to speak. And the child did live. So that shows you how do you connect, right, this belief or this positive mental attitude with action. Well, one thing is definitely find someone else who believes to work with. If you're working with someone who doesn't believe it's going to work, you either have to change their mind or find somebody else to work with. And when you're talking about a doctor, it's very hard to change their mind, right? Because they're so smart, right? They just went through the so many years of study, and you to tell them that they're wrong, they don't really accept that too much. So just find one that does believe uh, some way that you do, right? That you can be better, that you can overcome this, that maybe I can do this without a pill or without poisoning myself for the rest of my life, right? Like there's a way. And there are doctors out there like that. There's doctors that practice both holistic and traditional medicine, right? They're not put, putting themselves or their patients in a box of the way that it's going to go, right? They understand that it's actually the body that heals itself and not them, right? And so it's just finding a way to get alignment. We talked about that yesterday as well. Alignment, congruence. So when you find alignment within yourself, find other people to be in alignment with as well. That allows that energy to flow more easily. Okay, so then he follows that up with a story about a couple, right? And the man had a heart attack. He was dying. The woman was trying to revive him. She couldn't, and he died. And so she became a widow, and she was heartbroken. I guess she told her wife. I'm sorry, she was the wife. She told her mother, "I can't go on." And the next day, she was dead. So the woman didn't have any physical problems, but she had a very negative mental attitude towards life after her husband died. And that really shows the power of your mental attitude, right? You can either will the baby to live or just decide to go ahead and check out because of your mental attitude. It really has a really controlling power over the mind, over the body. So, what do you choose? I choose life, right? I speak life, and that's how I see it. When people come talking to me about how bad things are and how we're all going to die and the world is going to end, I say, I got a different perspective, and I try to talk to them about it and give them another choice. 'Cause a lot of times they don't know that there's another choice, another way of seeing the world. So Catherine says, my husband's aunt told us the date she was going to die. Her husband had died 3 years before on the same date. The doctor told her she would live, but she didn't. She died on that day. Wow, right? That's like she's like, I've decided I'm going to die on this here the third anniversary, and she did. She didn't evidently have any physical evident evidential reason, according to the doctor, to die. The doctor said she's fine, she'll live, but she said her mental attitude was, I'm going to die on that day. She was ready to go. Yeah. And so, like I was talking to Matt earlier, we're all here and we're going to stay for a while, right? And that shows you, okay, if I'm going to stay, what is the best way for me to start thinking, right? If you have developed a positive mental attitude philosophy and prepare for any possible emergency, always have something to live for. So the recommendation to prepare for any possible emergency is to have something to live for. When you have something to live for, the subconscious mind forces upon the conscious mind strong motivating factors to keep you alive in times of emergency. Now, here, this brings us to the story of Rafael Correa, and he was dying. He was in the hospital, and the surgeons and the doctors were operating on him for hours and hours. I think it was like 16 hours or something. They were all tired. They couldn't find a heartbeat. They were like, man, he's going to die. And evidently, they hadn't given him any anesthesia because whatever the reason, his body couldn't handle it. And he was, like I said, no heartbeat. But evidently, according to the story, he was still aware, right? And so he prayed. He talked to God. He said, "You know me. You're inside of me. I believe that you're my life, you're my everything. There's one mind, one principle, one substance in the universe, and I'm one with it all. However, if I die, I don't lose anything. I just changed my form. We just had a great artist pass, Prince, right? Everyone's talking about Prince. And my thought was like, wow, it's like the universe just got a return of a great creative force, right? It's going to be on another level. So let's not get into all that philosophy. But the point is, okay, you're going to keep going in some whatever you believe. A lot of people believe that you're going to keep going on in some way or another. However, he said, if you choose to give me life, somehow, someday, I'll be able to lead a better life and to help others. See, he was invoking his will to live, giving the universe or God a reason to allow him to live because he was going to help others. We talked about that in that magnificent obsession 2 days ago, right? Developing that magnificent obsession, that reason, that thing that you're going to do for others, that will give you so much more power and will and strength to live, especially when you're in a situation like this. And long story short, the doctors had called it basically, and the intern said, "Can I have the body?" Which is a weird question, right? I guess back in the day they would just give the body to the intern. But anyway, the doctor said, "Yeah, sure, have fun." And when the intern came in, he saw his eye twitching and a tear come down, and he recognized, hey, I think this kid is still alive. He called the doctor back in, and they did end up saving his life. So when you actually have something greater than yourself to live for, you know, and for a lot, it can be your family, but it could be beyond that as well. The difference that you're going to make in the world, or the encouragement, the value, the transformation that you went through that you're able to share with others, whatever it is, you know, that you have to share, that you have to give, can actually give you strength to overcome, emergencies or, dire straits. And another thing that really pulled him through was inspirational books. So he got the idea to even make this prayer and to have this conversation with God from a book that he was reading, called Science, Health with the Key to the Scriptures by Mary Baker Eddy. And he had read other books too, the Bible, etc. But this is where they bring in the idea of catalyst. An inspirational book like the one you're now reading here, the Positive Mental Attitude, it can be a catalyst which starts you on the road to a desirable positive action and success. Now, the dictionary defines catalyst in physical chemistry as a substance that causes or accelerates a chemical reaction. The dictionary further states that an anticatalyst or negative catalyst retards a reaction. So think about that. Like I said, these two topics are very closely associated, like the one we talked about yesterday, the one we're talking about today. So, what gives you a positive reaction? Think about the books, the music. We were talking about music the other day, meditation. What kind of thoughts give you a positive reaction? I know I still do. Like when I go in the morning to brush my teeth, I'll put on some Abraham Hicks or something, because she's always saying something fun and crazy, right? And there's like little snippets on YouTube that you can listen to, and it's uplifting. That gives me a positive reaction. I like those kind of thoughts. And there's other people, that you can listen to or that you can read that give you that catalyst, right? I like to think of myself as a catalyst to people. How can I get you going? How can I get you thinking in the right direction? Dance music. Yeah. And breaking down for about 5 minutes. Oh, we got to get a camera in your house. We got to be a fly on the wall. She turns on her dance music, and I think there's a game commercial out there, right? It's so funny. And the woman, she's every time she smells her gain, she's smelling herself. That's funny, right? And then she just starts dancing wherever she's at. And it's kind of funny. I like it. I like dancing. Dancing is so, yeah, it's just uplifting. If if you're feeling down, and like she says, put on some dance music and just start moving, you're going to feel better. it's like impossible not to. You're going to start to be happy. You know, it goes to that, that physiology changes the the mental state. Um, okay. And I think that's a lot of what this chapter is about. When I was reading, I was thinking that, there's studies like the majority, like I think it's somewhere like 95% of all physical conditions are the result of the mental state. It's called I should Google this because there's a word for this. Psychosomatic, that's the word. They're called psychosomatic illnesses. So the majority of illnesses are psychosomatic, meaning um, the brain is like a chemical factory. It's always making these chemicals that keep us going, right? That's why those little units of energy that I was talking about, and I'll have to do some research so next time I don't have to call them units of energy or things or whatever that our body or stomach makes. Um, most of them go to our brain, especially for us if we're sitting down all day. I gotta get up anyway. Only half an hour in. I got another half an hour to go. And if you have experience with actually changing your physical state through your mind, let me know. So the psychosomatic illnesses are basically all the illnesses that we hear about, and a lot of them that they're creating, right? You look at the TV and they're always making up some new drug for some new illness thing that you never heard of. And I think probably 95% of the people who buy those have just decided they're going to have that illness because it sounds interesting, right? They're like, oh, I think I have that. Yes, you've convinced me after showing me this commercial 60 times during the show. I do have that problem, and so I'm going to go get that drug. However, let's stay on point. So we're going to talk about Rockefeller real quick. So John D. Rockefeller, he was so focused on getting money, making money, making money, making money. And what he happened to do was make a lot of enemies and have a not his I don't know how his health was. It wasn't the best though. So he made it his definite aim after he retired from business to develop a healthy body and maintain a healthy mind to live a long life. And he was successful. So how did he do this? So we have a list here of bullet points that Rockefeller used to get himself back in order. He didn't want to pass on the bad habit, so to speak, of ostracizing his peers and having a negative, social space to his grandkids and to the rest of his family. And he also wanted to, you know, live the rest of his life in some kind of health. So what did he do? He attended church every Sunday and took notes to apply what he learned in his life. He slept 8 hours and took short naps every day to avoid harmful fatigue. Fatigue is one of the worst things you can do for yourself physically. Sleep is so so important. I'm just trying to stress that. A lot of us, especially young people, we think we can just operate without any sleep, and we're actually breaking our body down very swiftly. He took a bath or a shower every day. He was neat and clean in his appearance every day. So I'm going to stress this one as well. They mentioned it up here earlier, so that's why I want to bring it back. It's important. It's very beneficial, should I say, to take a shower every day or bath or something. It's more than just, oh, I don't need to take a shower, because a lot of solopreneurs, you could be in the house and like, oh, okay, I'm still good. I'll wash my face, but I don't like taking a shower. However, it refreshes you. It refreshes you on so many different levels. Bath, a shower, go to the gym, take a steam or sauna or something. But definitely the simple, if you have the water, which most of us do, take a shower, right? It makes you feel better about yourself. You're clean. You moved to Florida for a better climate that was conducive to good health. Live a well-balanced life. For fresh air and sunshine were absorbed daily. He engaged in his favorite outdoor sport, which happened to be golf, and indoor games, reading, and other wholesome activities were enjoyed with regularity. He ate slowly in moderation, chewing everything well, and this permits the saliva in your mouth to actually release the, what do they call those things? There's a name for them. When you, it's part of the digestive process. Does anybody know what it is? Like if you actually take your time to chew your food, it releases the proper chemicals, enzymes. That's the word. The proper enzymes that actually go with the food that you're eating, so your body can absorb it. And if you just shovel the food down your mouth all fast, your body doesn't have time to generate the enzymes, and you don't get the proper digestion. Therefore, you don't get the proper nutrition from the food that you're eating, and you're just giving your body a lot of stuff to work with and shovel out because you don't have the proper enzymes to actually absorb the nutrients from the food. So that is the reason to actually take the time and enjoy your food and chew it. It helps, the totality of the digestive process. He also digested mental and spiritual vitamins because, Grace was said at each meal and at dinner, it was his custom to have a secretary, a guest, or a member of the family read the Bible, a sermon, an inspirational poem, or a motivating article from a newspaper, magazine, or book. I thought that was a very interesting practice, right? So, as part of the meal, they also fed their minds and their spirits. Um, I kind of developed the habit of sitting in front of the TV, right? Um, but I definitely have the habit of digesting mental and spiritual vitamins every day. You know, whether it's books like this, audio tapes, videos, we talk about this stuff all the time. So it's definitely good. He employed a doctor, a full-time doctor, was paid to keep John D. well, happy, and alive. He did this through motivating his patients to develop a cheerful, happy attitude. And Rockefeller lived to be 97. I'm laughing because I don't think any of us are going to be hiring a doctor to keep us happy. It sounds like a good idea. um, Full-time doctor to keep us happy. And the point of all this, like I said, is he didn't want the hatred of his fellow man, because actually he had a problem with hate evidently, to be inherited by the members of his family. And therefore he began to intelligently share part of his possessions with the needy. So Rockefeller's motive, at least initially, was a selfish one. He wanted a good reputation, but then by acting generously, he became generous. And by bringing happiness and help to many through his charitable and philanthropic contributions, he found those same things for himself. So he learned a life lesson, and maybe it took him till he was, I don't know, really old to actually understand that there's more to life than just money, and that it actually you can be happy and care and share a good life with other people in the world. But evidently, he eventually got it. But he was just trying to live, really. So here they come to the recommendation of you got to learn about your own self, about your physical health. Ignorance is no excuse, as they say in the law. And it's the same thing with your body. You can eat Cheetos and drink Coke and say, oh, I didn't know I was supposed to eat vegetables and drink water, but your body will still have the reaction that it will. So learn yourself. Pay attention. Like you said in the energy notes there, how does your energy level feel? Ask yourself that 30 minutes after lunch, 30 minutes after dinner, and then you can really start to get a gauge on how the food is affecting you. Ask yourself that in the morning. A lot of times, what you ate for dinner will have a really dramatic effect on how you feel when you wake up. Right? How motivated do you feel, or do you feel like you should sleep for another 10 hours? Right? It's food and it's other things. And when you ate dinner, yeah, that's interesting. While you're eating, and how does that food make you feel? Here they say avoid being an alcoholic. That's funny. But yes, alcoholism isn't good and it's not fun either. And you will slowly die or quickly die eventually. So avoid drinking excessively. Back when this book was written, there was a lot of alcoholism. I remember watching that show about the advertising firm. What was it called? Back in the 70s or something. Oh, I used to love that show. I can't remember it. Anyway, the main character was a drinker. Can anybody remember that show? Um, yeah, it was about an advertising firm, and what was the guy's name? I don't know. They were all drinkers though, and it was chauvinistic and all that bad stuff that was going on back in the day. But it was very entertaining. Nobody can remember. Okay, but anyway, the point I'm getting at is people used to think drinking every day was okay, you know, like hard liquor every day, and even during the day, it was crazy. So the majority of people were alcoholics, even though they were functional. So he goes on into a lot about using the mind and the will to overcome alcoholism and how important that is. So I'm going to skip that because I think we all know that. So Catherine says, a good rule of thumb, anything in excess is not good for you. True. You know, you can die from drinking too much water or breathing too hard. It's like, okay, anything in excess is not good. Practice moderation. You can enjoy life, just enjoy everything in the moment, right? Because if you really enjoy it, you can then let it go and go on to the next thing. You know, life is always moving forward, forward, forward. It's when you're not enjoying it, or when I think I had this theory the other day that a lot of alcoholism comes from not confronting things that you're actually dealing with. So when I'm talking about enjoying, I mean, you know, like I was talking about earlier, life goes up and down, right? And things come, and you have to deal with them. You have to address them, right? There's a conversation with someone you're not having, there's someone you're not forgiving, you know, and we suppress those things through drinking and other forms, self-destructive things in excess. So we think we're getting some kind of relief. However, we're just burying something that needs to be addressed. And so the reason I'm saying this is because it can kind of be taken for the wrong, you know, oh, I am enjoying this. No, you're actually not dealing with something that you need to deal with, you know. That's why you end up in a bad state, right? Because I done drank all night and I have a headache, or I done ate too much and now my stomach's bloated, I can't move, all this feels horrible. Okay, so how be willing to experience life, bumps and bruises, as well as accolades and highs. Choosing to experience life helps to avoid excess. Exactly. Exactly. Okay. So there's more here. I'm actually looking for this part here, the thoughts to steer by. It says you can have a more perfect health. A positive mental attitude affects your health. It attracts good health to you. A negative mental attitude attracts ill health. So true. That goes back to the psychosomatic illnesses. Look it up. It will allow you to share some quote unquote woo woo stuff with your friends in a very scientific way. That's the word, psychosomatic. Let me see if I can Google it and spell it right so I can. Somatic. Yeah, I use Google as my spell checker. There it is. Psychosomatic of a physical illness or other condition caused or aggravated by a mental factor such as internal conflict or stress. So yeah, it's a pretty interesting thing to learn about, right? Ooh, stuff. But that's this science behind it. You know, there's science behind all this stuff. We just don't know it. Some of it we don't know it, or we don't have the language to communicate it. So we come off sounding like we're talking about, um, out the side of our head. However, it is proven. So let's go back here. All right, thoughts to steer by. You got number 2 here. Thinking good thoughts, positive and cheerful thoughts will improve the way you feel. What affects your mind also affects your body. Remember, we're an open system. A positive mental attitude toward the ones you love may be the means of saving their lives. Remember the father who saved the life of his infant son by going with a positive attitude. And on the subject of woo-woo stuff, Catherine, I wanted to share this story. It illustrates this point here about how you can actually help people with your positive thoughts. So this lady, she was in the hospital. She had, I think it was a kidney failure going on, and the doctors and nurses were rushing around trying to save her. And the doctor said, he came up, he looked at the chart, he looked at the machines and seeing what was happening, and he was like, "You guys better hook her up to this thing immediately, or she's going to die," right? And he had a negative mental attitude about what was going on. And according to her, she was, in one of those disassociative states where she was kind of like floating and she could see all this happening. And she says she could see a light orchestrating all the moving and everything that was happening. But out of this doctor, when he said that, like a darkness came out and affected her body, like it went into her body. And the readings on the machines, everything started going down, right? And she started really suffering. And then a nurse came in and looked and said, "She's going to be all right. She's going to make it." And a light, like a pink light, came out of the nurse and surrounded her body, and she started doing better, right? And eventually, and so she saw all this, like I said, she was in a kind of disassociative state, so-called in between dimensions. I wish my friend here was mentioning the dimensions here. But this allowed her to understand that the way other people think and the way that people talk about each other actually has an effect on them in the physical sense, right, and in other senses, right, in the other results in their life. So that's a little woo woo, but it's an interesting story. And um, I think it's true. So that's what the point here was. A positive mental attitude towards the ones you love may be the means of saving their lives. So learn to practice PMA instead of giving in to NMA, which is negative mental attitude. Develop within you a positive mental attitude so powerful that it seeps down from your conscious into your subconscious mind. If you do, you will find in times of need and emergency, you will automatically flash back to your conscious mind, even in the greatest emergency of life. So that brings back to the story where the kid who's dying, and he flashed back to all that positive, uplifting, motivational stuff that he had read, and he understood, I can live, and I have something to live for. I have something to contribute to the world, and I'm going to live. Yes, I do as well, Catherine. I do. I it's such a word, right? The woo woo. It's like they've given us a word, um, to kind of make fun of us, I guess. But it's like I say, to me, it's science. To me, magic is science that is not yet understood completely, at least by the people who are um, usually rejecting it. Right? The people who do understand it sometimes are unable to use language that's acceptable to a scientific disposition. But the truth of the matter is, I've learned a lot of scientists actually understand and believe these things, and they're working on allowing, the translation. That's why I like what is this thing, quantum physics so much. Um, and there's a really good one. His name is Nassim Hassad or something. I know I'm messing up his name. I'd have to open my Facebook. Then I have this thing on there from Charlene that allows me to stay focused, and I won't see anything in my feed anyway. So I have to open it up in Firefox, and that's a whole lot of uh, operations that I don't want to do right now. However, the reason I was mentioning that is because if you study the mystics and et cetera through the years and all the different religions, they all are congruent with each other. And so to me, that's evidence, right? If someone in Egypt, and then someone in Israel, then someone in South America, and then someone in Alaska have come to the same conclusions separate from each other, to me, that's a definition of science. Even though they're studying consciousness and spirituality, right? It's still the evidence procedure that they're using, that I'm using in my study. And so, because of that, that allows me to find uh, some sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? Foundation from which to operate, from which to build my own understandings of the universe. Because I feel like, we got thousands and thousands of years of studying, we're all just rejected because we're not using the same scientific method that they're using in Harvard. Well, actually, we are. We're just using different instruments, right? And the instruments of conscious are conscious instruments, they're not physical instruments. I was trying to explain that to somebody the other day. Anyway, not to get into the debate of that stuff. Okay, learn to practice PMA instead of negative NMA, as the engineer's wife did. That woman who decided to die the next day because she didn't want to go on. She was practicing negative MA as in regards to living, right? Developing with you a positive mental attitude that seeps into your subconscious. Learn to use the 17 principles and apply them to your life. So evidently there's 17 principles in this book. All the wealth in the world cannot buy you good health, but you can achieve good health by striving for it and observing the simple rules of hygiene and good health habits. PMA recognizes the importance of education in physical, mental, and social hygiene, and the ignorance of these subjects can mean sickness and death. Keep abreast of current developments affecting your mental, moral, and physical health. So this is old advice. The reason I'm saying that is just because it seems like they're just inventing new illnesses. However, there are, so I guess the way to address this to me, so the problem I'm seeing is with that statement was, okay, if you keep abreast of all the new developments, then you can possibly go the wrong way. However, if you keep a positive mental attitude in your research and in your discovery, and you have the focus on staying well and getting healthier, you'll find there's new discoveries all the time of that. Because sometimes I get discouraged when I look at my Facebook feed. It's like, man, they're just dragging on everything, right? Like, it's even salad and lettuce and greens are somehow now bad for me. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to pay attention to all that. I can't not eat anything, right? I got to eat. I got to live. And so I just can't believe those people, to me, even though they seem to be trying to give not good news, good information, they still have a negative mental attitude, right, towards everything. It's like there's something wrong with everything. And that you can have there's something right with everything, right? Wait 5 years and they will tell you what was bad for you is really good for you and you need to eat it, right? It's kind of like when the Atkins diet came out, right? Everyone was telling us, oh, we need to stop eating meat, stop eating fat. And all of a sudden, oh, we need mega amounts of protein and fat. Okay, right. And then it goes back to what you were saying earlier, Catherine, moderation, right? And just listen to yourself. Your body will tell you what it likes and what it wants. And you just get better at doing that, better at being aware of what's actually the best for you. Never abandon hope. for there is a potential cure of every ailment. Develop a PMA and take the guesswork out of your health by seeking aid at the right time. And then, of course, I want to bring back the point of find people who actually have hope as well. If your doctor is being hopeless and telling you these, depressing diagnosis with very little hope, as far as solutions, get another opinion. Find a doctor that's actually going to give you hope, right? And I like doctors who have hope in multiple directions, meaning that, oh, the only hope for you is this intensive chemotherapy and you're going to be sick most of the time. You're going to feel like you're dying. And then you got to take these pills and then you might live, but you probably won't. Right. So that's hope in a very narrow direction. You can go to another doctor and he'll say, he may tell you something similar. Yes, you're on the balance line there, but you may also think about how you're eating, how you're feeling, how you're thinking. The majority, I mean, the best cancer wards, I mean, they're so positive, right? It's all about PMA. The majority, like I've had a couple people who went through cancer, and it's weird. I'm lighting up because they became the most positive people you can think of, and that really saved them. You know, it just changed everything. Yes, hope is everything. Says Barbara says, as a media expert, too often reporters want me to focus on no hope in the critical incident. You have to focus on hope. Yeah, I'm glad that you have that conviction or that desire to stay focused on the positive, because that's how you live. That's how you survive, especially when you're going through a medical emergency. PMA repels accidents and tragedies by keeping the person with PMA alert to danger at all times. Should tragedy strike, however, PMA can guide you in meeting reverses calmly and deliberately. A sound mind and sound body are attainable if you will put PMA to work for you. Remember, you can enjoy good health and live longer with PMA. And then they have a couple of affirmations. I feel happy. I feel happy. I feel terrific. So let's bring this back. A sound mind and a sound body are attainable if you will put PMA to work for you. So think about that. A sound mind and a sound body. So how is your mind? How is your mental health? How is your balance? The reason I'm saying that is you can actually change it with a positive mental attitude. If you decide, okay, I want to be more solid, I want to be more clear, you have that I can do it, and start to think the kind of thoughts that lead in that direction, and you'll be there. The Barbara says, I worked in hospice as a bereavement coordinator years ago. Patients dying. I still focus on hope and painless for painless death. Always hopeful for a sound body, mind, and spirit. Yes, I feel happy. I feel terrific. My boss used to have us chant this 3 times at the end of each staff meeting. He definitely read this book then, right? Yeah. That's awesome. He said, I'm going to keep a positive mental attitude here. Positive mind gets you positive results. And imagine you're working with a team who has that same disposition, that amplifies the effect. And I like that, Barbara. It's like, well, if you're going to die, at least have a painless death. I still have hope for you, right? Because, yeah, there's some grim diagnosis there out there. If you're going to die, like, oh, it's going to be slow and painful. But no, let's make that not happen, because hospice, that's the whole kind of point of it, is dying, right? But it can be hopeful still, right? It can be beautiful transition. And less adjusting necessary to be doing when you get to the other side, if you're able to do that in a painless way. I feel happy. I feel healthy. I feel terrific. That's like invoking that positive state, that state of being. I was listening to, like I said, I'm always listening to stuff when I get myself ready in the bathroom. So I'm listening to this guy, and he's talking about how our hearts are always radiating. They're always radiating. They're and communicating with each other. The way that we feel You know, our hearts have just as many neurons. I think it's many, but they have a whole lot of neurons as the brain does. How many neurons does the heart have? I'm always Googling stuff because I know I've read it and I studied it before, but let's see if Google knows it too. The human heart, in addition to other functions, actually possesses a heart brain composed of 40,000 neurons that can sense, feel, learn, and remember. The heart brain sends messages to the head brain about how the body feels and more. So to take that a bit further, like this guy did, you know, it's like our hearts are all, you know, they're sending out electromagnetic waves and affecting each other. Now, when you feel happy, you help other people feel happy. You know, last time you were in the space of a positive, happy person, you can feel that. The same, vice versa. Right? If they're negative, if they're imbalanced, you can feel that. So stay positive, everybody. Stay happy. Have a great day. Thank you so much for joining me, and have a great weekend. Let your heart open, um, and just enjoy. You know, the results of your week, whatever they were. You know, take the lessons in and organize how you're going to move forward. And of course, if you're a entrepreneur, you're probably going to be doing some work as well. But take some time to relax and recharge and experience life. Yes, Catherine, great note to end on. So let's move forward with the day on purpose, with purpose, to grow our hearts, grow our minds, and grow our businesses. Thank you, everyone who joined me with the chat. It was very engaging and very enjoyable. So thank you so much. And we will see you next week.